Hello guys, and welcome to part 2 of me making a symphony generator. 2 weeks ago, the generator could make this. Now, it can make this. As you can see, I actually did stuff in the past 2 weeks. So let me explain. First, I had to make the melody actually sound like a melody. I decided to remove a bunch of the code that changes the notes to the nearest fitting value. The first one I removed made the chords go up until it fit one of the chords in the chord presets, then added new chord presets to fit the current chords. This made the melody chords actually be in the correct key. Then, I removed the code that makes the note go down to the nearest note that fits in the key, to allow for notes in different chords to be in different keys. For some reason, this resulted in the melody being one octave lower, but I was too lazy to fix it and just made the note go back up an octave. Next, I added a riser, or just a rising scale, to the beginning of the melody. The riser length was determined by the intensity of the song, and how much the riser went was determined by the intensity and riser length. Due to the new addition of a beat or 2 beats, the BPM had to be adjusted to fit the riser and still make the song as long as the segment length. After that, I made the accompaniment. Basically, the code would determine a transition length from one mood to the next. It would also determine a subdivision length, or how many notes will be in each measure. Then, it would generate random arpeggios that fit the melody contour chords for the part of the song before the transition. Then it would generate more dramatic notes that aren't in any chord for the transition part. I don't know why I made it generate more dramatic notes for a transition, but I guess it just made the accompaniment sound like it was ending. I then tried to preview the accompaniment with the melody to see how they sounded, but I remembered that Scratch is terrible at timing its music notes together. I was too lazy to code a way to make the timing correct, so I decided to just skip everything in my plan and make the MIDI generator, so I could preview it in MiseScore. And that is the reason why I uploaded a video about MIDI last week, so I could make sure I didn't forget all the information. Basically, the generator would first add the header and the track mark, switch to a new item, then add the meta events for the take rate, BPM, key, and instrument name, add all the note events, switch back to the first item and add the length of the second item divided by 2, the number of bytes, and add the track and meta event. It would repeat this for every instrument, or track. This took way too long to figure out, and I already kind of explained how it works in last week's video, even though it was mostly wrong, so I will not go into detail in this video. But anyways, after that, I added the second accompanying instrument, the 2 harmony instruments, and the harmony of the melody. I made the harmony by directly stealing the 3-note chords from the melody contour and changing some of the notes depending on the mood intensity. The second harmony would only have the first 2 notes of the melody contour, did not change at all, and was 1 octave lower. I made the melody's harmony by taking the melody notes and lowering it by a random arpeggio interval that fit the melody contour's chord. Then, when I went back to the MIDI generator, I realized that I didn't add a way to play more than 1 note at a time. So I made a new list that included the chord amounts for each instrument. The generator would then create multiple note-on events and multiple note-off events, depending on the chord amount. I also finally realized that the track number in note-off events wasn't the same as the track number in note-on events, which was why the MIDIs that generated were also sloppy. And finally, I added a second keyframe, because before I was only experimenting with 1 keyframe. Along with the second keyframe, I had to add a new list that documented the BPM, key type, time signature, and length of each keyframe. These were then added as meta events in the MIDI generator, which again took very long to figure out. Also, I had to add code to give the instruments that were silent during some keyframes rests. And finally, sometimes the song length would perfectly fit the BPM, and cause the riser length to be almost zero, so I made the BPM go up until the riser was at least 0.2 divided by the mood intensity. And yeah, now all I really have left is to improve the melody, keyframe transitions, add the GUI, and add literally every other mood preset. See you in part 3, and bye.